Hi everyone, it is time for a new video, and today is going to be once again a wrap up, and this time obviously for July. And I'm sorry it's a little bit late, but I've been extremely busy. I promise I will soon get back to a consistent schedule, but I have 15 amazing books to talk to you about today. And so let's just get straight into it, because I don't want this to be 1,000 years long. First thing that I read is You with a View by Jessica Joyce, and this one has been on my TBR for a long time. I own the physical book, but unfortunately I cannot find it. I recently reorganized my bookshelves, and it's like I am struggling a little bit with remembering, which normally I'm so good at keeping track of all my books. But anyways, I did actually listen to the audio of this one because again, it was on my TBR for a long time. And I just also really wanted an audiobook at the time. And so I finally read this and really enjoyed it. I am so excited to read more of Jessica Joyce's books soon because before this I read one novella of hers that I absolutely adored. And then this one I was hesitant about because of the plot, basically. And so the plot is that the main characters go on a road trip together because the heroine's grandma passed away and she figures out that she had this big love of her life that she never like ended up with. And she finds this man who is still alive and she wants to learn about him and he wants to talk about her. And they basically end up going on a road trip with this man who is the grandpa of the hero. And it's about this road trip and dealing with grief and a lot of other emotions. I have complicated feelings about road trips. I feel like it can be super fun, but as a setup on its own, I don't like it generally. So that's why I procrastinated on this one. And also, I don't always love it. You know, I was like, okay, so this old man is gonna be third wheeling for them, and I wasn't sure how that was gonna be done, obviously, you know, but I did overall really enjoy this. It had a lot of heart and it was meaningful and beautiful. And I definitely thought the romance was well developed and amazing, and this was definitely a success and a great start to the month. So moving on to book number 2, I read Eclipse by Wilder. And this I really enjoyed as well. So I think the cover kind of caught my eye and the name of it, and I love themes of, you know, like the universe and the sky, the sun, the stars, whatever in poetry. I love those themes, and so I was really excited for this. And this past year, I feel like I've really struggled with finding great poetry collections. I am a very big poetry reader and I write poetry as well. Like I love poetry a lot. And I've read a lot, like generally, but recently I just feel like, I don't know if it's that there's not enough coming out or I just struggle with finding it. But please, if you have any recommendations, please let me know. Preferably anything recent, but generally any poetry collection you love, I would love to hear. And anyway, I just randomly found this. It was on Kindle Unlimited and I did really enjoy this. It wasn't incredible. I felt like, you know, there was just something missing. I just have not found a collection where it really like hits me and like hits me in the depth of my soul. And, you know, because again, I've read so much poetry that some of it feels generic, and I don't want to call it basic because I think like all of it has some kind of value, right? But yeah, like it's just like I've heard it before, or just the words don't feel as meaningful to me as I would like for a poem to be. I do always think like poetry collections, so many of them are good, especially if you haven't read any, because if you haven't read any, it all kind of feels fresh and, you know, beautiful to read. But if you've read a lot, it then obviously like repeats itself a little bit. So if you haven't read a lot, you would definitely enjoy this. If you have read a lot, I would still recommend it, but like it wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy it. So that is that one. Moving on to the next book. This was a reread for me, Damaged Goods by Talia Hibbert. So at this point in the month, like at the very beginning, I was basically just in a complete crisis, like with deciding. I could not decide anything. And I was like, I want to read a physical book, I want to read anything. And I was gonna go on vacation, and so I was excited to read there, but I just could not decide what I wanted to read whatsoever. And then I was just like, you know what, I need this. I was also feeling just really anxious and overwhelmed and not good. And this is like my ultimate comfort read, and it's the kind of book that I love so much I don't even kind of want to talk about it. Like I want to just keep it close to my heart and I don't want anybody to say anything bad about it whatsoever. I adored Talia with all my heart. She has unfortunately not had any new releases recently except for like re-releases of books that I already read, which I'm very happy, you know, for her, and I absolutely love that, and I want people to read these books, but I already have read them, and I've been desperate for something new, and I think I have like 2 in the backlist that I haven't read yet, and I don't want to read them because I don't want to be out of Talia Hibbard's books to read, and so I have to do rereads, and I think I just need to do more of them, even just more than this, because Talia Hibbert is just incredible. Anyways, this is like my favorite in the sense of when I first read it, it was everything I needed, and it hit my heart so hard, and it means everything to me, and it's just like the ultimate comfort read. It is a novella, and the main character, Laura, basically escapes an abusive relationship, and she's pregnant, and she goes to this like beach town where she used to live to kind of like, you know, stay there during the remainder of her pregnancy and just kind of figure herself out. And she runs into Samir, who was her first love, and, you know, like childhood best friends, lovers, but they were separated because of, you know, life happened. And yeah, it was just the most like caring, beautiful, soft romance, like pure green flag energy. I love Samir so much, and they're incredible. And yeah, again, it's also a novella. It's super short, and I love everything about it. So, loved my reread of this. It is my most reread book ever. Like, I think this is like my 5th one. So, moving on to the next book, I read Nobody in Particular by Sophie Gonzalez. This also was a book that was on my TBR for so long, and I have also struggled with reading YA. I do love reading YA, but I just feel like my mood has been so weird, like in the recent like past year or so as well, and so I don't really get it, but I finally got to this. I love Sophie Gonzalez, and this was very highly anticipated by me in the sense of like, you know, I was scared of like, what if it doesn't live up to my expectations or something, which I just need to get over that. Like, of course some books won't, but maybe if I chill out, it won't matter so much and I'll still enjoy it, you know what I mean? So I finally read this, and this is a sapphic royal romance. And so obviously, you know, like forbidden vibes, set at a boarding school, a lot of things happening. And yeah, there's like a lot of, obviously there's the romance at the center, but there's also interesting friendships and betrayals. And yeah, I absolutely loved this. It was amazing, and I feel like royal romance used to be popular and it isn't anymore, and it definitely makes sense, but I do love the vibe. I think I love the vibe even more in a fantasy world. I do love reading about it, and you know, the forbidden aspect is just so fun, and like it makes it so angsty, and I just, you know, like you just want to devour the book. And yeah, so obviously the 2 main characters come from completely different places, not only because, you know, one of them is a princess and super rich, and the other one is not a princess and she's not super rich, but she's also like new to this country, trying to get settled at school, and yeah, they end up becoming friends, and then they fall in love, and it is beautiful, and I loved it. And so if you like royal romance and you would like to read a forbidden, sapphic, but also really sweet romance, there's a lot of like sweet and beautiful vibes in this. You know, it's not just like pain and pain. Yeah, definitely check this one out. Okay, next book that I read was Slapshot by Chelsea Curto. So I'm slowly but surely making my way through this series, and I read the previous book, Power Play, in June, and then I really wanted to read this, and I was kind of craving like shorter books, because I feel like recently I've done a good job at reading longer books, which I used to have a problem with. You know, anything that was like over 380 pages, I was like, I can't do that, that's too much for me. But then I'll, you know, read 2 books that are 300 pages within like 4 days, and that's not a problem. So I finally got over that, but I do feel like I've been craving like, you know, a nice quick read as well. But I really like this series, and I do wish like a little bit that it was a little shorter, because this was like 530 pages, and I don't love when contemporary romance does that. That being said, this series is so fun, and it was not hard to read at all. It is very entertaining, lighthearted, fun, steamy sports romance, and this one was very, like, I don't want to say it was low angst. Yeah, it was low angst, and basically we have a single mom who becomes the chef of this hockey player. Obviously it's forced proximity, and she moves in with her daughter to his apartment. And so they just really build this like beautiful partnership, and like, you know, they're living together and they become really close friends, and then they fall in love because the heroine is really scared of, you know, like falling in love, and especially, of course, she doesn't want to put a relationship in her life that would be bad in any way for her daughter. And yeah, but it's a very caring, mature romance. So definitely not really that angsty whatsoever. But if you want a romance that has amazing communication and slow burn and like strangers to best friends to lovers, you should absolutely check it out. And I just love the vibes of this series. I love Chelsea Curto, so I will absolutely be reading the next one very soon, even though it is long. I do think it's worth it. Like, it could be cut down, but it doesn't really need to be, because like it is fun and I love spending time with the characters, and there's quite a few side characters as well, and but like in a good way that, like, you know, I want to read about them as well. Next thing that I read was an absolute masterpiece, and that is Love Me to Death by Tuna Mated. Oh my god. I have recently, like in the past few months, I've read a lot of graphic novels, especially ones that like originated on Webtoon and then were published into a physical book. And this is one of them, and I don't want to say it's my favorite because like I read some incredible ones, but it's up there for sure. It is incredible, and I don't really want to say too much about it because I feel like some key aspect of it feels like a spoiler. Like, I wasn't sure what was gonna happen. Of course, I had my suspicions, but I wasn't sure, and I loved being surprised by it and actually, you know, the things happening. And so I'm not gonna tell you too much, but I will say this is like a fantasy book where we have a necromancer, this rich guy whose fiance dies, and he asks this necromancer if he can bring his fiance back to life. But in this city where they live, necromancy is completely forbidden, and, you know, like, he would go to prison if he was found out, and things going from there. And this cannot even like explain how incredible this book is. And again, I read multiple volumes of it, and I continued it on Webtoon beyond what it has been published in the physical books, if that makes sense. And I haven't finished it yet because it is quite long, but it is absolutely incredible. And like the character development and the relationships in this, and this is definitely very angsty. There's very high stakes. And the art is beautiful, and like there's just so many cool side characters as well, and just like everything about this is incredible. And like, please pick it up. Like, I know I can't tell you how incredible it is because again, I don't want to spoil anything, but it is so good. It is so good, and I need everybody to read it, and I desperately need to buy the physical copies because, like, you know, what you see on this cover, it's even better on the inside, and just, oh my god, it is incredible. So since I, you know, absolutely loved that, I wanted another graphic novel, and I read The Reaper and the Waiting by January Sun. And this was very different, but I also loved it, and it was so beautiful. And so this one actually has themes of the afterlife as well, but in a different way, where both of them are kind of like in the afterlife. One of them is a reaper and the other is like a spirit, kind of. And this spirit is following him around. There's this magical, beautiful connection between them that the reaper doesn't entirely understand. And this is just, you know, this feels like so soft and magical and tender. And it is absolutely, like, it is a romance, and it is just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It doesn't really have that much plot. And again, there's aspects that I don't really want to spoil because it's not that, it's very short. Like, this is just like one volume and that's it. And it's not that long whatsoever, but I loved that because, again, I was craving something short and a lot of the webtoons are super long, and it's amazing because I want that content, but obviously, you know, like, I also like the satisfaction of finishing a story, and so this gave me that, along with absolutely beautiful art again, and it's a little bit of a different art style than I've seen on other graphic novels. And it was just absolutely lovely and meaningful and beautiful, and it deals with death, but it's also full of love. And I loved the two main characters so much. Moving on to the next book, I read In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams, and this was amazing. I love Sarah Adams so much, and I feel like I had this book for quite a while, and it just felt like, you know what, it's time, and I devoured it within a few days. And so we have Madison, who feels like she's a failed chef. So she went to New York to, you know, like, just be a super cool, successful chef, but it did not go as planned. And, you know, she worked with people that were super toxic and, you know, rude and horrible. And so she left the city because she did not like it there at all. And she goes back to her hometown. and she gets this job at basically James's family owns this farm and it's struggling, and so he decides to basically create this restaurant to like bring in people and make them money. And he's like, okay, you know, it would be perfect if you were the head chef, like, you know, if you led this restaurant and helped create the menu and everything. And it sounds like a great opportunity. And so, you know, Madison takes it and it's cool. But it may or may not be that James has always been in love with her, and he kind of creates this opportunity for her, and things go on from there. So we definitely have, like, you know, the hero falls first and hard, and the heroine is very much scared of commitment and love. But she is in desperate need of some love for sure, and it is just so beautiful. I love Sarah Adams so much. Her books feel like a hug and just so comforting and meaningful, and I loved the themes of, you know, like feeling like your dreams are broken and finding your way again. And I feel like we need to see that more in books. Like, it definitely is common, but like I still want to see it more. Obviously it's super fun to read about like super successful, you know, like athletes in sports romance and like other cool things, but it's also great to see people struggling and come out on the other side. And yes, so I absolutely loved every second of this. It's win-worthy, it's sweet, romantic, steamy, and fun, and I love it. And it is the last book in this series set in this small town, which I am sad about for sure, but I cannot wait for what Sarah Adams has in store for us next, and hopefully there is some book coming out soon, which I actually don't know. I need to check that for sure. Okay, I feel like I need to speed it up a little bit. I don't know how many books I've already talked about, but the next book that I read is Golden by Wilder. So this is the same poet that I mentioned earlier in this video. This was also on Kindle Unlimited, and I was just like, you know what, I want more. And turns out this was a reread for me, which I forgot that I read it ever before. And I definitely liked the Eclipse one more than this one. Still, again, I did enjoy this, and it was really nice, but it wasn't incredible, and it left me wanting a little more, but it was not bad by any means. It's just that, like, I feel like I'm looking for a very specific thing, and it's a little hard to find. The next thing that I read is actually another graphic novel, and that was Books, Iced Coffee, and A Side of Dragons by Amanda Lovelace. So I actually got this as an ARC, and I'm pretty sure it's coming out like definitely in August, but I can't see the date on Storygraph, so I'm not quite 25th of August, quite soon. And I just was captivated by this cover, and Amanda Lovelace actually is a poet that I've read a lot of their poetry already, and I was very intrigued of a concept of, you know, Amanda Lovelace writing a graphic novel, and it did not disappoint. Also, I can't see the illustrator is Raquel Trave, and so Amanda Lovelace wrote it and Raquel Trave illustrated it. And so yeah, I saw the cover, I was like, that is super cute, and it is indeed super cute. This was so sweet. Honestly, like, there's no plot really, and very low angst. Like, everything feels very easy. But in a way that does feel really comforting and really sweet, and we have a queer romance at the center. Basically all the side characters are queer as well, and there is chronic illness representation, and also one of the main characters is trans, and it is about basically one of the main characters owns a coffee shop and the other one owns a bookstore. And there's also dragons that are just like super cute, honestly behave kind of more like, you know, like cats, or just super chill, you know, and so it has just beautiful cozy vibes, beautiful art, and comforting vibes. And so if you want that, you should absolutely pick it up. I really hope that they make another graphic novel at some point together, because this was amazing. The next book that I read is Birds of California by Katie Coutinho, and I don't even know how to talk about this book. I partially loved it and partially it disappointed me at the same time. And so I was really excited for this, and again, at this point of the month I hit a wall of like, okay, like, I was reading amazing things, but I didn't know where to go next, and I could not decide for the life of me. I really wanted an ebook, and I just could not choose anything from like all the so many ebooks, and I could not choose. But then this just kind of called my name, and I started it, and I was like, okay, this is it. And so it fully gripped me. It did exactly what I wanted, which was like, I am able to focus on this even on holiday as I'm doing a lot of different things. And so I loved that, but, you know, and this is basically, I thought that this was, you know, this was an actor romance and fun and cool, and it does follow actors, but it is very different from what I thought, and just what happened was not what I expected at all, and something about the vibes just confused me, and I can't even tell you if I loved it or hated it because I feel like it's both at the same time. And so basically the main characters were like child actors, child in the sense of like teenagers, and they were on this super famous show together that, you know, back then did really well, but it's like 10 years later now and their careers are not what they thought. The heroine has stepped away from acting entirely because something happened at this show that made her want to do that, you know, completely leave it. And the hero is still trying to make it, but it's also not going quite according to plan. And he's broke and he is not succeeding in the way that he would hope. And he basically gets a call that they want to do not a remake, they want to get back to the show and, you know, make a new season, whatever. And he says yes, because again, he's kind of desperate and he needs money. And so that being said, they are like, okay, but the heroine is not agreeing to this. Please talk to her because you were close or whatever. But they have not spoken in 1,000 years, and they had like a little bit of a connection. They kissed, but they did not date or, you know. And so he finds her and talks to her and she's like, I'm absolutely not doing this. But he kind of keeps trying, and then they kind of just decide, you know what, I actually missed you and I want to hang out with you. And so they spend time together, and the plot just felt a little bit strange in the sense of like it felt repetitive and the story was not moving anywhere in a way that I thought. And the vibes are basically Fiona has been through a lot, and again, you know, everything like in the TV show, and she has a lot of mental health issues, and people basically, of course, because she's a woman and everything, labeled her like crazy in, you know, articles and everything, and they just said that she was unstable and all of this stuff. And I did not love the fact that Sam, the hero, basically kind of judged her a little harshly at first, which I could get over, but it felt like the judgment kind of kept coming back. And I'm like, I'm sorry, like, even though she maybe did some questionable things, she also had a lot of reason for that. And I was like, if you are gonna love her, you need to love all of her and like not judge, you know? And so I did not love how some of those things were handled, and I kind of wanted more love and support from him. And yeah, but at the same time, I devoured this book and I thought it was, I don't even want to say fun, because like it is actually kind of heavier than I thought, which is definitely not a bad thing overall. But I don't know if it was me that I misunderstood the synopsis or the synopsis kind of didn't describe it accurately. Probably a combination of both. But yeah, like I would absolutely check out this author again. But this kind of just confused me, gave me a lot of mixed emotions. I would still kind of recommend it. Yeah, I'm gonna stop talking now because this is already too long. So then I read Can We Skip to the Good Part by Melissa Braden. And this is a sapphic adult contemporary romance. The main character's life is kind of falling apart. Her fiance dumps her and she gets laid off from her job, and so she moves to basically live with her best friend to like a completely different city. And she falls in love with this best friend's ex at a local book club, and I definitely enjoyed this. I absolutely loved the like newest book by Melissa Braden, which I forgot what it's called, but that is a NF1 sapphic romance. Loved it so much. So this was not as incredible, but I definitely enjoyed it a lot. And obviously we have like a forbidden romance, best friend's ex, you know, like all of that, but at the same time there's like cozy small town vibes, and it is really fun and I very much enjoyed it. And Melissa Braden is an amazing author, and I will definitely be reading her backlist. And I also hope she's gonna publish another new book soon, because again, the newest one I absolutely adored. God, I feel like I cannot talk anymore. So I'm gonna speed this up, and I only have 2 more books, so we can do this. Okay, so I finally read Mile High by Liz Tomford. I have read this entire series except for this before I read this, obviously. And so I just went to the second book because I kept hearing amazing things about it. That was before the series was even over, and you know, and then I just kind of kept going because the new books were releasing and I was just excited and whatever, and I never read this. And then I just kind of, you know, put it in my head that like obviously it's the first one, I'm not gonna love it as much as the others, and while for sure it's not my #1 favorite of the series, it was super fun and I love the series so much. It's just so easy to read and so addicting and fun. And in this one we have Xanders and Stevie, and I'm pretty sure he's a hockey player, but now I don't know, and my brain is gone. So anyway, he's an athlete. He is some kind of a player for sure, both on, you know, in his job and outside of it. So He definitely has like a fuckboy reputation in a way that like goes a little bit far. Like it definitely goes very, very far in it. And so at first I was like, okay, this like is a little too much. Very cocky vibes, you know, but anyways, Stevie is the flight attendant on his plane, and he starts flirting with her, and she's like, no thank you. And he's like, oh shit, somebody like is not interested in me. But in the end, it ends up being a very sweet, super fun, very steamy and addicting romance, and I loved it, and it was super fun. And I just love this author so much. And I actually don't know, I think her name might be pronounced Tom Forty. I need to double check that. Yeah, but I love her. Her books are incredible, and I really hope she has a new one coming out soon. So my camera died, and I'm here to update you on 2 more books. I already said there's 2 more before the last book, but I actually missed one because I did not log it onto my Storygraph. I will tell you about that one quickly though, because it is a short story, and that is One Hot Summer Wedding by Fallon Ballard. And this was a very quick read, and it's literally maybe like 50 pages or something. I enjoyed it. It was really fun, and it had summer vibes, and it's basically all I'll tell you is that it is at a destination wedding, and it is a wedding of the main character's like ex-best friend, and she falls in love with that friend's brother. And yeah, so super quick, fun, entertaining read. Nothing much more than that, but I enjoyed it, and I really wanted to find like some shorter reads, and this was certainly short. So yeah, but then last but by no means least, definitely like one of the best books that I read this month is The Ocean Would Paint Me Blue by Zulfa Katu, and this I was highly anticipating. I absolutely adored this author's debut, and it was incredibly well written, and so obviously I wanted to read this, and I did in fact read this in like 2 days, and it is an incredibly beautiful, heartbreaking, but also just really meaningful story. So we have our main character, Jihad, who is a Syrian American girl, and her dad basically wants her to attend this like new school in the like last part of her senior year, because he says that like it's gonna give her more opportunities and it's a better school and everything, but she does not want to go there because she knows that it is not going to be better for her like mentally and emotionally, because it's filled with, you know, like rich, privileged people who do not respect her in the way that they should, including who was supposed to be her best friend and most certainly is not. And so especially the beginning of the story, it is very hard to read because like Jihad is surrounded by horrible people, mostly except for like her family, but she also feels very distant from her father because her mother died a year before, and obviously both of them hold so much grief. And then she has an older sister who obviously also is grieving, but she has a husband, and she just seems, you know, like more happy than the 2 of them. And so she just obviously has been really struggling. She basically has this little magical gift that she is a painter, makes these paintings of basically her mother's story and like the adventures that her mother had in Syria and like all the beautiful moments that she remembers her mother talking to her about. And so she paints them in her sketchbook, and they start appearing around New York City, just like, you know, out of nowhere, you know, these beautiful murals that definitely catch people's attention, but at the same time it's like if she gets found out, she's gonna be in trouble. And also what I forgot to say related to this magical gift, at the beginning of the story she does not see these colors. So along with this painting ability, she basically always saw colors in this really beautiful magical way, but since her mother passed away she has not seen color. As the story continues, she starts seeing colors again, you know, one color at a time, and then she starts painting, and it is beautiful. And while that is like a magical element, it felt so real and so powerful, and it was such a meaningful part of the story. And obviously Jihad has to struggle so much, and some things don't get better, but some things do absolutely get better, and she finally finds, you know, more love. She does perhaps maybe fall in love, and it is not about that though. This is not a romance. It is very much like a coming of age story, and of her just trying to survive and then hopefully find a way to live. And so yeah, very important, impactful, and meaningful book, and the writing again is just beautiful. I would absolutely recommend this. Obviously I loved this book so much. Please check this book out. It is amazing, and I am very ready to also finish this video because it is so long. So I will not say anything more, but I hope that you found a book or two to add to your TBR from this video. And if you made it this far, leave a sun emoji down below. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'm gonna see you soon in another video. Bye!